Monday on Yourview. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo. After Larry Brown, as always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, Mariam Longe. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. Nothing much. It rained a bit. Had like doctor's appointments and some other things, but you know, it was okay. But today is World Environment Day. Just been thinking about how long I've become the voice of environment at this table. And I remember doing a video last year for World Environment Day, and it's come around again. I'm like, wow, you know, consistency is important. So it's just another reminder today. Let's remember our planet, and then plastic pollution is real. Let's see how, you know, we can live sustainably going forward. Use less plastic, recycle, upcycle, reuse, you know, just the regular mantra. And, you know, I've always said that you can start wherever you are. You can start little bits, you can start individually, you can use your voice, but we're asking use more than your voice. Your lifestyle should change, it should reflect that. We're just protecting our world for our generations to come.
Great.
Thank you.
Fantastic. How are you doing, Tokwe?
Grateful to God for
Your hair. We see your hair today.
Yeah.
Hair came out to play.
Yeah. It's been a few days. I'm happy to be back on the show. But over the weekend, it was just a time of missing my children. So the kids had, what they call it, they had a school trip. And I got back home on Friday and I met this very empty house. There was nobody, only Samuel came to shout. I was like, oh.
I don't miss his brother. I heard he missed his brother.
Yes, a lot.
Crazy.
You know, so I just felt like, I'm really missing having my children around, and I'm reminding myself that, okay, they're going to grow, get used to the fact that at some point in time you would be letting go, you know. So this is just a first sample of what it's like to let go.
Enjoy it.
I didn't actually. I really wish that they were around. I didn't think I would miss them like that because, like, I feel like that's.
How many days were they gone?
Oh,
4 days.
4 days.
3 nights,
Wow,
4 days.
you're missing them like this.
No, when I travel. No, when I travel, I don't feel bad. But being at home and not having...
Yeah, because you also went away for some time. So when you come here, especially that see your kids. Yeah.
You know, so, but...
How are you doing, busy?
I'm doing amazing. It was a family weekend for us. So what happened on... Okay, Friday I came to work, then went home. Saturday, went to look for... I went shop hunting. Went around with the food that we don't have.
Yes,
I went around the whole place, you know, but yesterday we went to the beach, the whole family. We just wanted to have a good time outside. You know, it's their midterm. They're going to be around for 1 week at home. And if I didn't do it yesterday, I wouldn't do it. They would just be home. So I said, okay, let's take this opportunity to hang out with them. So we're at the beach till like 5, 6 p.m. yesterday. We had fun. I played with the water, you know, just... family time, played cards, and everybody was just cool, yeah.
Fantastic.
And work starts this week.
Yeah. Yeah, so my kids were also, my daughter, Elizabeth, was actually on the school trip, so she was just looking forward to just get away from the house. And I pitied her, I said, you that you miss us. But she had fun. You know, it was good to see her again on Sunday. I made pizza at home on Saturday. Really homemade pizza. It was fantastic. You're not buying. You're not buying pizza again because they don't put enough cheese. So I bought lots of mozzarella. Everything was very stretchy. The kids enjoyed it. Elizabeth was not around. She didn't eat it. She's now looking at the pictures. Like,
but you were doing your own too.
So
at least you compensated the ones at home.
But I was the only one she got a gift. She came back because they gave her shopping money to go out.
So she got a gift for you.
Gift for me. I was like, Mommy, I don't want to buy for Daddy because Daddy might not like whatever I buy for you. From experience, you know. So for me, she came in and I love the gift. I'm going to wear it one of the weeks.
Please do.
That's cool.
I was really surprised because I'm not a fashionista. For you to even go and pick this one out, obviously you don't have my blood. It has to be your grandma's blood. Anyways, so cool. Let's go on a quick break.
They got their daddy a gift.
Let
me not just say anything.
Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we go through the front pages of the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Yourview will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. All right, we're going to start with the Nation for the paper review. All right, so the Nation, let's start with that. New governors groan under heavy debts. Buhari submits asset declaration forms, shows zero debts. 10th National Assembly, Tinubu meets PDP, LP, other lawmakers tomorrow. Subsidy, NLC under pressure over strike threat. Controversy over attack on Kogi governor's convoy. Okay, which story are we starting with in Nation? Who has the major headline?
I do. It's not opening properly so that I get all the details.
And let me take, while you're trying to get yours open, our former president, it's weird to say it, Muhammad Buhari has submitted his assets declaration forms to the Code of Conduct Bureau. That's in line with Chapter 6 of the Constitution. His assistant on media and publicity said this. This was actually posted it on his Twitter handle, and he says that the Code of Conduct Bureau today issued an acknowledgement receipt. The completed declaration shows that his movable assets, that's the former president's movable assets, did not increase at home or outside, and did not add new bank accounts outside the only one he had in Union Bank Kaduna. He has taken no loans and has no liability. The number of animals in his farm recorded a little decrease due to the number he gave out as gifts in the last 4 years. And that's what I have. So,
Okay.
So let me try and see how I can get all the story. It says, they've said that the newly sworn-in state governors are already on a warpath with their predecessor less than a week after resuming power. So the story went ahead to mention some of them, which is covered by adverts since I'm reading online. But they said that Zamfara State counterpart Dauda Lawal gave his predecessor Bello Matawale and his deputy 5 working days to return all government vehicles in their possession. He said he had accused him of going away with all the vehicles he claimed to have bought with a combined sum of over 2 billion. They also mentioned that the new governor of Akwa Ibom State, Umo Eno, has a debt burden of 264 billion to deal with, while Peter Mba of Enugu State, Uba Sani of Kaduna State, and Caleb Muftwang of Plateau State are sweating over the security challenges they inherited from their predecessors. So I think basically most of the governors, new governors, are complaining that they have inherited debts. There's no money in the coffers. And, you know, for Zamfara State, they said that the cars that they had used government money to buy are not present in the government house. So they're giving them just 5 days to return all the vehicles because they are government vehicles that has to be used by government officials.
All right, so ahead of the proclamation of the 10th National Assembly, President Bola Tinubu will be meeting the opposition senators and House of Representative members on Monday, that's today, by 3 p.m. I said that although they didn't give us the details of what the meeting would be about, but the report said that they believe it will be centered around the quest to firm up harmonious relationship between the executive and the legislature, as well as fine-tune the process of electing leadership of the National Assembly. If you recall, the National Working Committee of the APC had anointed Godswill Akpabio South-South and Barao Jubrin North-West as Senate President and Deputy Senate President, respectively, and also endorsed Tajuddin Abbas North-West and Ben Kalu South-East as Speaker and Deputy Speaker, respectively.
So the meeting is taking place at, they will meet with the Senate at 3 and then with the House of Rep at 5. And my thought was there's a lot of the, our new president is being very, very active. There's a lot of meetings going on.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that we don't have a divided house. We have a politically divided house, but if we can get the politically divided house to be focused on, united in bringing Nigeria, delivering a better Nigeria for the citizenry, then will be good.
I like that I'm even hearing from this president. You know, usually we don't really hear from our president. So, I mean, he's been speaking for the past few days concerning he's been talking.
This is where we...
So because
it's after now. We'll
now see if he's going to continue
with the action.
We need that continuous conversation. Let's go on now to the next paper, The Punch. Subsidy. NLC shuns federal government meeting. Electricity workers back strike. Senate queries Accountant General over 910 billion naira MDA's loan. Trapped funds. Foreign airlines plan meeting with federal government. PDP wants Tinubu to make asset declaration public. 18 die in Kano crash. FRSC boss warns against overloading. OPEC raises Nigeria's output as Saudi Arabia cuts production. And NDLEA seizes 390 kg illicit drugs in 4 states. Okay, story are we
The
taking?
human interest story said there was a car crash that occurred on Friday at Zakirai Town on Kano-Ringim Road in Gabasawa local government area of Kano State. Said about 18 persons were burned to death. According to the Court Marshal, Federal Road Safety Corps, Dauda Biu, he had cautioned motorists against dangerous overtaking, overloading, and night travels. And so, while confirming the crash, the Kano State Sector Commander of the FRSC, Ibrahim Abdullahi, said other 12 passengers suffered varying degrees of injury in the crash, while 5 others escaped unhurt. Said the accident involved 2 commercial vehicles, and the people who died had been given in mass burial. They said one of the vehicles, I think the Volkswagen, was filled up, overloaded with children, and the other one was also overloaded. And by the time they collided against each other, one of them, was caught up in flames. And so he, attributed the accident to overspeeding, dangerous driving, overloading, and that was what resulted to the head-on collision that happened. They said the accident involved a total of 35 passengers in 2 buses, which we had mentioned that 18 were burnt beyond recognition, 12 suffered varying degrees of injuries, and people just need to be careful when they are taking those roads. That overtaking without seeing properly is usually one of the problems.
So I have a story of the controversy around Kogi State Governor's attack. Apparently, the attack is alleged to have been carried out by a governorship aspirant who was a member of APC, but now has decamped to SDP when he wasn't allowed to contest in the party primaries of the state. He mentioned that the person's name is Murtala Yakubu Ajaka, and they said that his convoy was coming around the naval base of Lokoja. When they realized that the governor's convoy was on the opposite side, that they blocked the road and they were shooting sporadically into the air, and that the governor left the scene unscathed, but a few of his aides that were attached to him sustained some degree of injuries, and they were rushed to the hospital. That's according to the Commissioner for Information for the state. But the other side of the division have said that they were not involved, that it was all a lie. They said they were not involved in the attack, that it is just out of fear that the governor is raising such attack, that where was the governor attacked, and that they were not, like, it's as if they are reporting 2 different things. So there's no information from the police confirming if it happened or not, but the Commissioner for Information for the state is urging residents to be calm. They said they've also sent a letter to all the members of APC that there should be no reprisal attack, and that they are urging citizens to remain calm, that the rule of law will be used to handle the hoodlums that have been arrested.
Right. Yeah, so I have operatives of NDLE intercepted not less than 76.9 kg of Canadian loud, a synthetic strain of cannabis. This was found in 4 used vehicles containing marked MSDU 6686346. It came from Canada and got to the Port Harcourt Ports Complex in Conair. They said that the drugs were seized.
Let me pause you. I have to go on a break, unfortunately. We cannot hear you. I think we're going to go on a break. When we come back, we'll continue with our review. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing Punch. Mariam, you're going to copy your story.
Yes, so I was saying NDLEA had intercepted not less than 76.9 kg of Canadian loud. And this was done, they seized the illicit drugs June 1st and June 2nd. They had a joint inspection of the shipment with men of the Nigerian Customs, and it was based on, the seizure was based on intelligence that they had received that requested for 100% examination of the shipment as a result of, the intelligence. So these illicit drugs were found in 4 used vehicles in a container that had come in from Canada and had gone to the Port Harcourt Ports Complex in Onne River State. NDLEA as well said they stormed Iwe Forest in the Iwe community in Owan West local government, where there was a large warehouse of skunk used to store 231 jumbo bags of psychotropic substance weighing over 3,000 kg. That was set ablaze as well. And then a few other individuals in Kano State, a female in Kaduna State, all possessing one drug or the other, and they were all arrested.
Okay, I was going to take OPEC. So members and non-members of OPEC have agreed on Sunday to cut crude oil production volumes in order to ensure global oil market stability, but allowed Nigeria, Congo, and Angola to continue to produce maximally to their OPEC quota. This is good news for Nigeria because according to our representative who attended the 35th Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee meeting in OPEC held in Vienna, Austria on Sunday, they said that they're allowing these 3 African countries to continue to produce maximally, and that Saudi Arabia especially even cut extra $1 million barrels per hour over the weekend yesterday on Sunday. Said Nigeria's highest crude production is 1.3. They're hoping that with the new presidents and the new administration's fight against insecurity, hopefully we can wrap that up to 1.5 million barrels per day in the coming months. But I'm happy that that would help to globally stabilize the value of the crude across board, so that hopefully we should be able to benefit from that. Many other stories. Let's move on to the punch, or to the point. The untold story, how Commission forced 500 contractors back to site over 40 billion naira abandoned constituency projects. Fuel subsidy removal, Nigerians adjust lifestyle, says sacrifices for better country inevitable. Family battles, ex-PTA chair for allegedly grabbing school principal's land, causing his death. Who has that story? Go ahead, please.
So, yeah, it's a really complicated story. It happened in the technical college, government technical college, Oshogbo, in Osun State. The principal had collected money from some students who were said to have been fighting as penalties. The money from these students amounted to 680,000 naira. Yeah. The PTA is aware that there is a fine placed on students that were fighting, and the PTA raised the issue after a few months that they needed to use the money for repairs within the school. The principal has spent the money personally. So the PTA now reported to the authorities that the principal spent school fines from children on personal bills. He must pay back. After going back and forth, he started paying back in 50,000 naira, 50,000 naira for 4 months before he retired. And upon his retirement, a new principal was appointed to the school. The new principal now called him that, how will you pay since you have retired the remaining money? He now brought his land to the school, the document of his land to the school. Fast forward to 2 years after, when the man died. They said the man died based on, he found out that his land, the PTA chairman has built a house on his land. A personal house on his land that he put as guarantee. So the children are claiming that it was the shock of that made him die. So now the children are saying, give us back our land. The PTA chairman has built house on the land. I'm wondering, is it that the PTA chairman bought the land for the remaining money?
Let us move on.
It's a major...
It's a super story.
It's a super story. It's a movie.
So he brought the land as collateral.
Yes.
Meanwhile, PTA chairman
has collected.
That's wickedness.
Okay, so this is corruption for like
whose own party?
Vanguard, Subsidy, NLC Sean's meeting with FG, TUC 6 pay rise. OPEC cuts Nigeria's oil outputs by 20.7% to 1.3 million barrels per day. Okay, that's not the story I read earlier. Senate indicts AGF over failure to recover 910 billion naira short-term loan to MDAs. Subsidy. Sanwo-Olu begs NLC to shelve strike. Kogi Guba poll. APC's Ododo picks primary school teacher as running mate. 18 passengers die in Kano auto crash. Zenith Bank MD emerges best banking CEO in Africa. Bandits kill scores in Zamfara, abduct over 30 girls. Okay, which story in Vanguard?
Yeah, the bandits said this weekend they attacked communities in Maradan local government area of Zamfara State. They killed many locals, abducted no fewer than 30 girls. According to one of the survivors, told the BBC Hausa service in an interview, which was monitored yesterday, that She managed to escape from captivity and returned only with her headscarf. Said the terrorists attacked Sakida and Jambako communities on Saturday afternoon, killing over 20 villagers at Sakida and injuring others. According to a villager who survived the attack as well, said they woke up peacefully, there was rain, and some locals had to prepare to go to the farm. But suddenly there was a report that terrorists had attacked a neighboring village, Sakida. And, the local vigilante, that's the JTF, called the people of Jampako. They all came together with other volunteers and, they took up arms from the village and went to attack, the bandits. But they said there was a hill before you get to the village, and they didn't have any idea that the bandits had laid an ambush for them behind the hill. So they opened fire on the people, and about 22 people died and were buried. So they're saying that security operatives were also called, but those ones replied that they cannot come immediately because their armored personnel carrier was not on ground. They said some of those areas do not even have any form of security surrounding the place. So they said, but the JTF, that's the security operatives, tried by chasing the terrorists. Some of them came back. They had to bring back the motorcycles belonging to some of these terrorists. But the governor of Zamfara State is saying that this is not acceptable. They need a lot of help. They have called service chiefs together that they need to find a way to secure the lives and property of their people in Zamfara State. There are some areas that don't have any form of security at all. He has asked that they deploy security officials there, at least so that these things it does not continue to happen over and over again.
Yeah. Okay. So I have the story. The Lagos State governor has appealed to NLC to shelve its plan for a nationwide strike against fuel subsidy, saying that governors are already discussing ways to mitigate the effects. The governor made this appeal, they said, on Sunday. He says that NLC and labor unions should support the president, who's only been, president for a week, and not turn this thing into a political issue, that the strike will not in any way, resolve the issue, and that he's hoping that even Lagos State, they're looking, that the president has said something about better wages, that even as a state, Lagos State, they're looking by January, to do something along that side. It's just appealing that everybody should work together, especially with this new president. Let us be patient, work with the president. NNPC said it has more than enough fuel to go around, so there's no need to heat up the politics. That's basically what he was saying.
So the Kogi State governorship candidate of the APC, Usman Ododo, unveiled a primary school teacher, Salifu Joel, on Sunday as his running mate for the November 11th election. The news agency of Nigeria reports that Salifu Joel is the current chairman of the Nigerian Union of Teachers. Very strategic. Very strategic. And the treasurer of the NLC, the Nigerian Labour Congress. In fact,
I was wondering primary school teacher.
It sounded noble. Until you now see which kind of primary school is an NUC. So, well, Governor Yahya Bello said that he has done well. I mean, even though he said so himself, he has shown that he will leave no stone unturned to ensure that APC wins for the governorship elections in November. He says that APC will follow and abide by all the rules. I was going to go to where he was saying what he has done. More so, my administration has performed creditably well in the areas of infrastructure provision, quality education, and healthcare delivery, amongst others. And they are sure that this new government coming in, hopefully when he's elected, he will be able to do much better, and they will not tolerate any politics of bitterness, condone any acts of political violence. But it's quite strategic. When you bring in a teacher to run, because many teachers are actually, they're very, very crucial. Power block. Yes, it's a huge voting block also. Very, very huge voting block. So it could be a strategic or noble.
Voting block if your fellow colleagues support you now.
But it's just...
don't be ordinary teacher, a new teacher. Now them get the power.
I want to quickly take the story about the Senate indicting the AGF about loans that were given to, they say special funds being abused. They asked the AGF to request and retrieve those loans. So MDAs had gotten a total of 910 billion in 2017, and the money was supposed to be a short-term loan, but the money wasn't recovered. they did not repay those loans back. The AGF has claimed that several letters were written to the Minister for Finance to authorize the settlement of this loan granted to the MDAs, and they obviously haven't done that. So this investigation was carried out by the, let me mention the name of the senator, Senator Matthew Urugbide of Edo South, and they were going through the Auditor General's report of 2017 and realized that there was an outstanding 910 billion naira short-term loan that never came back into the government coffers. Like, right, if you know what 910 billion naira would do
for Nigeria,
for entrepreneurs in Nigeria trying to get loan, even if you give it to them at less than at a single digit, the impact will be massive. It's
Okay.
just wasting money.
That is all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, we start with our hot topic of the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. The Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, said it will begin a nationwide strike on Wednesday over the current increase in pump price as a result of the removal of subsidy. According to NLC, they would embark on a strike if Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, fails to revert the current template on the increase in the price of fuel occasioned by the withdrawal of fuel subsidy. Now, this is the only news Nigerians are talking about today, and it's the hottest topic of the season. The Tinubu administration is about a week old now, and many people are still saying that there are different views concerning subsidy removal. Others are saying that it's a good thing. Some are saying there's a need for review because it's such a harsh development for Nigerians at this time, especially. Some are saying it's not the right time. We should wait for the right time. What are your thoughts on this issue? We'd like to hear from Nigerians because many people are talking about it, but you see, it's always good when we hear from Nigerians directly how they feel about it, and it's great feedback for our policymakers. You can call us on the numbers on your screen, 081-270-53687, 091-390-76948. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag Yourview TVC so we can read the tweet. From what you said earlier, Governor of Lagos State, for example, has said that has appealed to workers not to go on strike. Olisa Metu also appealed in the southeast that workers shouldn't go on strike. Although the Nigerian electricity workers have said they will also join NLC. So there are different sides to this. What are your thoughts? You kind of knew this was going to happen.
Yes. You know, on the one hand, is like, please, let's not start this way. Let's not go on strike. Let's find out how to solve this issue amicably. Let's sit down and have conversations. From what we've seen so far, we see that this administration looks ready to have these conversations. But even I have questions. We remember the president's speech when he said subsidy is gone, and then we explained to a day later that it wasn't that the subsidy implementation is gone immediately, the removal is done immediately. It was, just part of the speech. But then we now have a list of prices for new prices set up by NNPC. And I'm like, why are we giving us prices again? When you remove subsidy, the market forces, are they not supposed to, just determine the prices of petrol? So why are you giving us prices? So what is happening? So I have questions, and I'm guessing those are the questions NLC has, but you cannot have answers to these questions if you're not going for meetings, having this conversation. So I know that eventually we're going to have some resource people come and talk to us. And so I'm not looking at NLC as the bad guy. I'm not pointing to them and say, oh, people are just wanting to disrupt, or hit up the polity. There are questions that need to be asked. They need to be, they're doing this for the interest of Nigerians. They need to be sure that government understands that this is tough on Nigerians. The prices are heavy. Everybody's saying it. Everybody's complaining about it. And now we're not just talking of, already regular Nigerians, are struggling with this. We're even talking of middle-class people who, for most of it, are able to handle, have been able to handle these prices. But these prices, they're just too much.
Let me come to you, BC, you like to go first next? Yes. What are your thoughts on this strike?
I have bought the fuel myself, and I sat down after buying that fuel. I was calculating how much I'm earning and how much I'm going to be using to buy fuel if this continues for a month. And there is no way my current salary can buy fuel and still have enough food to eat. There is no way. So I have felt the pinch as a Nigerian, and I am asking the question. So aside from the fact that I do not believe we will get anywhere with the strikes, we know how the strikes go. Before you realize it, some people are sorted, their interests somehow are attended to, and then they keep quiet and tell you, okay, don't worry now, let's just wait a bit. So we know how this goes. I've been in Nigeria for all my life, and I know how strikes go. So that's really not the solution. But like Miriam rightly said, NNPC has not been, I would say they have not been truthful to us. We are still asking the right questions. The amount of fuel you say we are consuming on a daily basis as Nigerians is not consumable. You have not told us. We are still looking for data of the exact amount that is being paid for the subsidy, the trillions you have mentioned. We're still looking for that data. There are questions that you have to come out and tell us. And what makes you the authority to fix prices? So you're fixing prices on your old products. It's not like they have bought new products, or they have not. So because the president just said subsidy is gone, you went back quickly to update your old product and rip Nigerians off. Why didn't you wait till it's time to, get the import the petroleum? Why didn't you wait and then you fix the prices according to, or allow market forces to determine the price? I know that the other day I spoke as a business person, which is when you hear that policy is about to change, you quickly protect yourself. But you are not a business person. NNPC is strictly a government.
Wait, let me be sure I understand what you're saying. So I buy this product, right? $100,
Yeah.
right? This is the product. Now, you're government, and you're saying, I will subsidize it 50%,
Yeah.
right? So I'm actually paying 50 for it, but the value is $100, right?
Yeah.
So you give me 50, I pay 50, right? So now government says, it's off, I'm not paying you that.
Yeah.
So I already know my cost is already 100.
Yeah.
And I go back and say, okay, because I'm paying 100 now, everybody must pay 150.
50.
150 to buy the fuel.
Yeah.
Now, so NNPC is now saying that, okay, the value is 100, right? I'm going to give you a bracket or a bracket range between 100 and 150. So I know I'm going to charge you 150, but every other person, you shouldn't charge less than 100 because 100 is actually the cost price.
Yeah.
So you decide how much you want to. So when I saw that figure between 500 or whatever, I can't remember the figure they wrote, is it 490 and 500? I'm thinking in my head that, okay, they are saying there's a range. We know the cost of this thing. So that range is the figure we saw. It's not as if the NNPC give us a number. Say, okay, you must charge this price. They're telling you this is the range you can build. You can't build more than this amount. You can't go less. So nobody, they didn't come up with a figure unless I'm mistaken. But that's how. Let me get the clarity.
Okay.
And so that's the clarity.
No. NNPC is not private business. So.
They're not private.
NNPC is government business, and that's why the subsidy is going through them. They are the only sole importers of petrol. Nobody imports petrol.
Privatized. It's not limited.
Yes, it's limited, but it's still highly controlled by government. So you say you are paying subsidy, and subsidy has been removed. Why don't you wait to allow market forces? What's the hurry? The subsidy money that was taken out that we're not paying again is starting from June. Yeah. By 31st of May, you're already changing the prices. So
I'll come to you in a second. NNPC said that they have about enough for 30 days.
Yes.
So they already have the product.
Yes.
I've already bought the product. Market forces will come when I'm buying new products.
Yes.
Right now, I already have this product in, and I'm telling you, based on what I bought for this cost, so these are the range that I expect people to pay at the pump prices. But you know what? We'll come to that. But let me hear your initial thoughts, and I'll come back to you. Yeah.
So for me, I would say that the process of subsidy removal was not smooth at all. I didn't like the our president's statement in saying subsidy is gone. I believe that we don't want subsidy. I have said over and over again that we don't need subsidy, that we need it as a people, but this framework of the current subsidy system is not profiting us as citizens. So I agree. All candidates, I did not give my opinion last week on the show, all candidates that were aspiring for presidency said they were going to remove subsidy. So we all knew subsidy had to go. But it was not a case of the leader coming on the first speech to say subsidy is gone. That was not the right way to make that transition. if the government had the new administration knowing what they were going to do, all of us had been prepping, everybody in government now knew what was going to happen. Knowing what they were going to do, knowing the impact it will have on people, could have designed a better approach on how to do this. What do I mean by better approach? I know that we are going to have a conversation. All NLC come around. This is it. We all know. I have discussed with NLC. Maybe I come into power as the president. The first meeting I had is with NLC. The next meeting I had is with TUC. Everybody has the conversation. The NNPCL, PCL comes in to that same meeting. Everybody, the major oil marketers. Let me establish my scenario. Okay. Major oil marketers are in that meeting. The NNPC, we have major, their stakeholders are in the meeting, and I explain what we all know. Subsidy has to go. But with the stakeholders, how do we ensure that this subsidy removal does not shut down the country? Because the impact on me was the next day we did not have, all Fiscal was shut down.
So because you're not here last week when we discussed, I wanted to go back to the fact that we reminded Nigerians that the president did not remove subsidy. It was already, it's not in the budget, whether you like it or not. It's either an announcement or policy. Yeah. So your budget already does not have it. So he announced, so he did not announce, so it's already gone. Yeah. Now, the meetings that you want to have, there's no other meeting that they've not had several times, even in the old administration. So the point is that even though that announcement was made, it was important for Nigerians to prepare their mind, whether with or without that announcement. It was already gone.
Mariah, we've discussed it here even before now. Yes. From the budget that we did not have budget for subsidy. Simple. We also knew, and I had said it, that the previous administration was setting up the next administration for crisis. So the new administration knew there was going to be a crisis, and then the statement now came heavy on the first day during your speech that subsidy is gone. What that cost was everybody reacted. All filling stations shut down. We wouldn't have had that if the statement did not come out that day. It wouldn't have happened like that. But it has happened. From where we are now, what is the policy framework the government is going to implement to ensure that people are not profiteering off Nigerians? The price went from the commercial. It can't be a conversation. I know. I'm in the media space. There should have been a decision on how they would address profiteering. We are Nigerians. We know once the subsidy is out, everybody will hike price. So the government proactively should have known immediately, I made this statement, this is what will happen. So how do we address it? Not for us to now be still waiting for what is the government going to do. We already on this show said that we're not going to follow the policy. We don't agree with that policy of palliative of 10,000 naira. It doesn't make sense. So what exactly is now the policy this government is going to use to mitigate the crisis that has happened now? Right. Where the average Nigerian cannot afford, their salary cannot change overnight. And based on this current salary, with transportation going up, they cannot live off the means. The same way
that refineries cannot be built overnight. Yeah. So somebody has to come halfway. The same way our salaries is not going to increase. Everything to mitigate this removal cannot happen overnight. So remember we discussed the issue of trust. Yes. It's either we trust or we don't trust. Because many would have said, all the various governments have had, we don't trust them. So even if you remove subsidy today, I don't trust that amount of money you're going to save, you're going to do anything about it. Now, we can now choose. Because we don't trust, we're going to carry placard and remain to pay subsidy. We make a choice.
I don't support
it's a choice. I don't support how do we then solve that problem? We're going to go on a break. When we come back, we take a few calls and hear a few more thoughts. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we're still discussing subsidy. As I said, it's the biggest news. Everybody's debating and saying all their various views on it. We'd like to hear from our own callers this morning. Please call in and let us know, do you agree with NLC on this strike, or do you agree with the administration that subsidy should go? Let us know your reasons. You can call us on 08127053687, 09139076948. You can also tweet us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweet. So as I said earlier, NLC reaction is not surprising. I mean, even I've been expecting it. I was shocked that they're not yet on the streets. It was supposed to be Friday and then they moved because when the president made that statement, I thought the very next day NLC would be on the road. But hey, it's taken a few days to plan it and they're now working together for Wednesday's strike action. I heard that TUC has had a meeting with the presidency yesterday or maybe it was even today. They're having a meeting. It was in the papers over the weekend when they made their own demands on what they want. NLC should be having another meeting with TUC again tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow NLC shows up if they are able to make an agreement. But my question is, what kind of middle ground do we hope NLC would look for? What kind of middle ground should we have? Because everybody across board, as we said earlier, agrees that the subsidy should go. But the pain of it, Nigerians are feeling it. So again, are we willing to sacrifice this pain, or are we saying that we trust that the government would not do what they said they would do? So we are not going to trust them and we're not going to accept this removal at this point. Okay, so we remember there was already a meeting and NLC met with federal government. Yes. But they said it was a deadlock, you know. So I would like to hear why that happened. So what is it that NLC did not agree with, and what was it that the federal government decided, you know, to put on the table? And that would, you know, give us some sort of understanding. We know that NLC would always go back to the fact that our minimum wage is, you know, compared to our, you know, the situation on ground, it makes no sense. And I heard the president saying that that's one of the things that they're going to look into. If the minimum wage is not the issue, then what is the issue? I know that we've talked about this many times, so could it just be the refineries they're talking about? Should we put down the refineries? Is the federal government saying that these refineries, the subsidy removal will go ahead even without the refineries being ready? Could it be, you know, there are just so many things, and until we hear from them what was it that was disagreeable to them, I don't think this should be made into a political issue. I don't think this is even a political issue. We need to understand that Nigerians are crying and Nigerians want some things to be addressed. Right. But we need to also understand that here we are right now. We can't keep going back to, you should have said, how should you have said? The next step for me, I believe, is what is happening now. There is a table. We are talking about it. And these are the agreements, or these are our demands. Where can we meet in the middle? Okay. But what is the middle that NLC wants? If the minimum wage that federal government is proposing is going to increase is not enough for them, what exactly are they asking? Let me take this call from Hassan. Good morning, Hassan. Are you there? Thanks for calling.
Hey, everybody.
You're live.
Please, Morayo, point of correction. I'm not one of those Nigerians that are against subsidy. Okay. Subsidy will not go. My point here is what should go is the criminality, the fraud in the subsidy. That is my own humble opinion. And that is the opinion of majority of Nigerians. So let us get it corrected. Number two, please, let people go back to a drawing board and get to understand what is called subsidy. The so-called New World, the America, the Europe, are still subsidizing. So that means subsidy is a good thing. So what are we talking about? With the increment in the price of petroleum in Nigeria today, everything will go up. That shows you the sensitive nature of energy. We move around. We carry goods around. The price of goods and services will go up. A lot of things will go up. Why are they afraid? I've been saying it right from Buhari's era. Why are you afraid to go for the fraudsters? Why are you going for us? That is the issue. That's my question.
Thank you very much, Hassan. Yeah. So, I mean, last week I had mentioned the fact that fuel is like an international product. We all buy Mac. I used the example of Mac makeup, hair, Brazilian hair, even phones that we use. Everybody has a phone. It's not produced in Nigeria. But we make that sacrifice to buy because it's not, they import it from China. They import it from wherever. And we find that money to buy it because we feel it's needed. This fuel either is not produced here, it's not refined here. It is brought in, it's an international product, but yet we are paying the local price for it. So we're saying that we've been subsidizing for X amount of years. We can't continue to subsidize it. So we must pay that international price unless we start producing it in Nigeria. And that breaking Dangote is the refinery. So if we have that analogy in mind and say, okay, this thing must go, why is it so difficult for an NLC to understand that this international product that we are using, that we all need, we cannot continue to pay subsidy on it. Is it so difficult for NLC to get that, or why do they continue to insist on these products that Nigerians will buy, even if, especially if it was a phone, almost all Nigerians now have phones?
We don't buy phones every week. Neither do we buy phones every month. Even Mac, your Mac powder, you use it for 6 months or 1 year. And if it is finished, you can do without it. This petrol is more like life. We need it to run our businesses. We need to run our cars, our generators. We don't have electricity. We need it for a lot of things. So it's a very essential commodity that government has tried so far to subsidize, which I doubt that subsidy, because the truth is everything will still be open. Breeze will soon blow. And let me not say the remaining one. You will understand the adage. Everything. I still do not believe that subsidy was even paid for this number of years that they're talking about. That's one. I still don't believe that. Now, secondly, we're not saying now we have a table. We have a table. They have to come and prove it and give us the data. Is it not the data they're still looking for now? They're looking for data, and you want me to believe it. I've been reading the paper since on this place. Leave that one. So we have a table now. What I expect NLC to do is to say, we understand that subsidy has to go so that we can use the money allegedly used to pay subsidy to attend to other infrastructure in the country, but there are some things that you would have put in place to enable a seamless transition, which we don't have. That's fine. We're moving to solutions now. We're not looking at the past. Why don't we, because these people have old products that will serve us for a number of months, right?
1 month.
1 month. Why don't we add just a little money on top, because we're speculating that by the time they go back to buy, they will need to spend more, and not allow them give the current price on the old product. There's a way you do these things. We're business people. As a personal business, not even government-supported business.
For old product that you need to restock. I'm not going to restock with the old money. So
Listen, are you listening to me?
I heard you. So if you
will add something, though. You will add something, but you will not give us because you have not bought it. You have not bought it. You may get hold on. You may get let's say you are buying this. You are buying the product now for 500 naira, right? And you know that if you finish selling this one, when you go back, because there's no more subsidy, you will buy for 1,000.
Exactly.
You now decide to start charging the customers 1,005 for what you are going to buy 1,000. And you are selling the one of 500 naira and charging 1,005. You see where the cheating is? So even
they don't pay it in advance. Subsidies are paid after. So if they say that it's gone on that 20, now that's why that statement was very powerful. As they said that subsidy is gone, it means that from today, you cannot calculate and tell me to pay, because they don't pay it in advance. So that's price they are selling now. They will go and reconcile after. That's why we're always having confusion regarding the consumption, because we're not paying it.
So I guess for NNPC will also, in response to that, what they may say, they said that federal government owes them 2.8 trillion. So this is what they've bought without government handing them the money
for the subsidy.
So
I don't
let me come to you.
Their response, but it's not enough.
Let me take this call and come to you. Praise, you're live. Thanks for calling.
Morning, madam.
Go ahead.
Yes, I've been watching your program. The only thing there, the comparison there. Hello, are you with me?
Very well. Go ahead, please.
Yes, the comparison that you have compared with Brazilian hair and you can't compare fuel. Everybody uses fuel everything. It affects everybody. When you buy Brazilian hair today, can you buy it tomorrow? If you see your time today, it will take you for 1 or 2 weeks. You must buy another, but you cannot compare Brazilian. You said this thing last week. I call you. My line goes to, I used to mention it. Don't compare Brazilian.
Okay.
Please, don't do that. It's not about table. You buy Brazilian, you buy tomorrow. You buy every day. Why every day? It affects everything. Please don't compare the two.
Thank you, Praise. So the point I was trying to make was that we are constantly using imported products. So it might not be Brazilian hair you buy. So you buy one Brazilian hair today, you buy a pair of trousers again, you buy maybe your phone, then you buy there are different items we all have that's imported. So there are different ways of looking at these things. But the point I was trying to make is that we all use international products all the time. We're willing to pay. Diesel has been has been deregulated for a long time, and people have adjusted to that pricing. So there are different ways of looking at it. But I hear you, it's your view. Let it count. Go ahead.
So
yes.
I don't. All of us on the table don't support the NLC going on strike. I don't think it will solve any problem. It won't solve any problem at all.
Going on strike
So
yet.
it will not be. It won't solve the problem because if it solves the problem they want to solve, which is taking us back to subsidy, we would have a bigger problem.
Problem in
So
future.
we have a problem on ground. Let me remind Nigerians because of what I said earlier about the presidency, people might think, okay, maybe I'm a supporter of subsidy. I believe Nigerians need to subsidize fuel because we are a largely poor country. But Nigeria isn't actually subsidizing fuel for Nigeria. That's the problem. We are subsidizing fuel for the entire West Africa. And the government has tried to solve the corruption in fuel subsidy, and they couldn't. And the burden of subsidizing fuel for the entire West Africa is crippling our economy. So the solution is, let us just stop fuel subsidy. And to a large extent, I understand when you've done all you can and there's no such solution, you will do the only other option available, which is to remove subsidy. Based on where we are now, how do we ensure that Nigerians understand the journey? It's a painful one.
Fantastic.
So the president has promised us renewed hope. He has come on the campaign and said he knew the problem. And everybody will know. Go back and check on YouTube. I was reiterating the kind of problem the new president was going to come and meet.
And he also said, don't pity me. I know the work.
Yes.
He said, don't pity me.
Based on that, the president is not ready. We're not setting him to sleep. We're setting him that he will do the necessary work to give us that hope by letting us know the plans he has. There must be a plan.
Yes.
And Nigerians will know we're suffering it for a while. It's going to be a serious suffer.
Okay, in addition to that, I wanted to bring the NLC part.
That's what I'm going to.
Okay.
So when NLC, and Nigerians will not tell NLC that we know you're not fighting for us. Because at the end of the day, when settlements happen, in the face of it, you fight for us. But when there are settlements, you will be covered and all of us will be left alone.
So
because it's the conspiracy theory that has been backed up with years of what we keep hearing.
So if
they say there's a strike now, what will happen? Businesses will shut down.
NLC, I don't want us to just state the problems again. What we expect of NLC, what would like NLC to do? What I would like you to do? Like you said, what compromise?
Governments to do. Governments should give us a framework of how they would help Nigerians.
Yes.
And the framework, please, Nigerians, understand, the framework will not mean there's a solution in the short term. All of us will have to bear that pain. But Nigerians want to see that the government is also suffering. You know, they want to feel that maybe a policy of all the government workers will not be getting free fuel because we know majority of government workers get free fuel. They don't pay for their fuel. So all government workers are also buying this 500 and fuel we are buying. And we will see in the budget that this money is being saved.
So what I want to be hearing from Labour is what you are saying.
Yes.
Say, okay, you are going to increase minimum wage from this amount to this amount.
Yeah.
You know, it's important now because right now minimum wage is 30,000 naira. If they're saying that, so if government says, if government says, I am going to save, no, it can be immediate. When I start saving that money, for example, I can say from January 2024, this is how much I'm going to start paying for minimum wage. You never know.
You are informed. We're not saving any money. We were borrowing money to pay subsidy. So we're not saving.
So we're just
going to stop ourselves from borrowing. So we don't have that money.
So let me pause us for a second because I don't want us to just assume that NLC is going to go there to negotiate for their own personal reasons. I want us to go, and if they're not sure what to negotiate for, let us as Nigerians say what we hope that you can negotiate with the government to ensure that this money that is saved is adequately used. Let me take this call and I'll come to you, Mariam. I have a caller. Good morning, are you there? Okay, I'm sorry, I lost that call.
Yes,
let's go to break. We'll be right
okay.
back. I'm bringing in our expert now. Thanks for staying with us. All right, so we're going to be bringing in some experts to help our conversation because, as we always like to hear first the ladies' views and get Nigerians to hear their views and then bring in experts to shed some light for us. And right now on the show, we have with us Dr. Muda Yusuf. He is the Chief Executive Officer, Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise, CPPE. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My pleasure to be with you.
Good to have you. So I'm sure you've been watching the show earlier. There's been a lot of debates, conversations, arguments, thoughts on the removal of subsidy and the planned strike by NLC. What are your own general thoughts on this development?
Well, first of all, the good thing is that there is a consensus, at least to a large extent, that
Okay.
Subsidy.
Okay, so I think he's frozen. We got for us. I think he was just saying that there's a large consensus. Everybody agrees that it should go. But the issue is that
both among.
oh, sorry, we
Yes,
lost you. I want to
everybody
start over,
agrees that
sir. Dr. Yusuf, please start over. We didn't hear you at all.
No, what I'm saying is that there is a consensus, I mean, to a large extent, that this subsidy is not sustainable. You know, and I think the main issue now is about building a consensus around how we should remove it. Actually, in his inaugural speech, he didn't mean to say that the subsidy should go immediately. He didn't mean to say that. He was just emphasizing the fact that this subsidy is going to go, and we have to ensure that, just to prepare our mind for it. Unfortunately, the way the issues now went, people, the marketers, everybody reacted instantaneously in a way that it was difficult to roll back or to reverse.
Yeah.
So we are now in it. And I think what we need to do now is to see how we can manage the crisis. Of course, there's a lot of pain. I mean, when you are talking about an increase of over 150% in fuel price, that is a lot. That's a shock. But unfortunately, this is what the price we have to pay for a long period of neglect of addressing this very critical reform. So what I think we should be talking about now is how to alleviate these pains. Yeah. There are immediate responses, there are short-term things, there are medium-term things, there are long-term measures that needs to be taken. I think that is what we should be facing. And Labour should not be walking away from dialogue. It is not a good thing. Because you cannot insist at this point that government should go back to status quo. That is not practical. So Labour should come to the table and put its conditions on the table on how to mitigate the pains of this. And going forward, as the situation stabilizes, even this high price is likely to come down.
Okay, let me get a few questions in for you, sir.
Those are my initial thoughts about this thing.
All right.
Okay, Dr. Muda Yusuf, let me ask you, what do you think should be some of the things that Labour should be presenting on the table in terms of solution? So subsidy has been removed. We can't go back to the old price anymore. Government doesn't have the money to pay. But we need to talk about moving forward, and we need to ask or request that the government put some things in place to alleviate the pain of this subsidy removal. So what are some of the things you think NLC should be pushing forward with the government?
First of all, is the wage review.
Wage review.
The wages in the public service is extremely poor, even before this subsidy issue. We know what inflation had done to the wages of people generally over the last few years. Now, this subsidy removal has made it worse. Unfortunately, transportation and food are two major things that even the poor cannot afford not to undertake. And it goes close to 50 or 60% of family budget. So we need to address the issue of wages, and it is something that can be quickly done.
Okay.
So this is one. And this is not just restricted to the public sector. The private sector, of course, to the extent that they have capacity, should also respond to private sector workers by immediately reviewing wages. This can be done immediately. And this can be done from whatever savings we are getting from this subsidy. The second thing I think needs to be done is to look at the general cost of living generally, apart from transportation. Food is very expensive. What are the immediate policy measures that can be done to bring down the cost of food? Okay. We can look at tariffs, for instance. We can have an engagement with food processing companies. I mean, relating to bread, relating to noodles, some things that ordinary people eat. What immediate solutions can we get to bring down the cost? An engagement with stakeholders in the food sector or agri sector will help a great deal. So this again can be done immediately. Right. Then we have things like providing more public transportation. That may take some time to be effected, but that should be also on the table.
All right.
Public transportation that should be subsidized across the country. Then we need to improve the power supply. Because if there is regular power, there will be less dependence on petrol or diesel.
Right.
That is also something. Then employers should please also provide buses, staff buses, to the extent that they can afford it. So the government should also bring the private sector into this conversation. This palliative should not be limited to government. It should be extended to the private sector. There are some private sector employers who have capacity to do more than they are doing in terms of the salaries they are paying, in terms of providing buses. And also, we need to realize that the nature of work is changing. This idea of everybody going to work every day, physically, we need to revisit it.
Wow. Thank you very much, Dr. Muda. Those are some. Let me get a few more. Let me get a few more questions. Let me get a few more questions for you.
Dr. Muda, majority of Nigerians' labor force is being employed by the private sector, and the majority of that are employed by small businesses like my own. So if I am facing, the reality of what I'm facing now is I pay salaries to about 10 people every month, and they are facing a new reality in terms of their salary not being enough to even cover transport fare and feeding. And they are looking to me to pay more money. How do I transfer that cost? Who am I going to transfer it to? Can the government tell me to pay more money simply because the cost of living has gone up when there is no, I'm going to be borrowing money. I'm borrowing money from the bank at 28%. I still got a phone call from the bank on Friday that they want to give me more loan at 28%. So essentially, 28% is going to bank. Salary will consume, by this time, in terms of percentage, another 30 to 40%. What is the business? My CIT will consume 30% of profits for every limited liability business. Are we being realistic about the demand we are placing on businesses, private businesses, to increase salary? So because government can be compelled to do it, but how do we get private businesses to do the same, realistically?
True.
You know, you have different levels of employers. Okay. What I've said may not necessarily apply to all small businesses. Okay. Most small businesses are also major victims of what has happened because their costs are going up, and depending on the kind of product you are producing. For some products, you can transfer increased costs to your customers. For some, you can transfer partially. For some, you cannot transfer at all. So the shock of that will be on the owner of the business. And that, of course, making is that that's who have capacity to do more. We have employers, I mean, we have seen some profits being declared by some companies. So for those segments of employers, they should do more.
All right, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue with this. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We still have our guest, Dr. Yusuf, with us. I know Mariam had a question for the break. Because
So, Doctor, my question is, you know, I'm really curious to know, like, what sort of conversations you would have with TUC and NLC that would, you know, almost put them off that they are insisting on a strike. Is it that they do not see any way forward? Because let's look at... Oh, he can't hear us.
We're trying to connect with him.
Okay.
But based on what he said so far, I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, he's been saying a few things he believes that NLC should be asking for, one of which I think is the fact that employers should try to see what they can do to review. And I think it's an interesting, he's not talking to all employers because not everybody can actually review their salaries, but the cost of food, the cost of petrol, the cost of transportation has increased. I was saying last week that I bought fuel, filled my tank, 32,000. It's never happened before in my entire life. You know, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm trying to calculate where I go to. I'm told he's back. Dr. Yusuf, are you there? Can you hear me? Doctor,
yes, I can hear you.
Very good. Miriam had a question for you.
Yes.
Let me let her start.
So my question would be, you know, we've discussed like the immediate things that government can do. And I'm wondering if these were put on the table with NLC, what kind of conversation would tick NLC off that they are not sitting at the table? But could it be that there's a fear of transfer of subsidy? So if we're saying we're taking out petroleum subsidy, and then we're talking about palliatives and alleviating transportation and things like that, are we not just transferring, you know, subsidy from one product to another, and then before you know it, we have the same issues that we're having with this one?
No. You see, subsidy in itself is not a bad thing. The problem with this petrol subsidy is that it is not effectively targeted at the vulnerable segments of society. We are subsidizing guys who are riding SUVs. We are subsidizing people who are riding convoys. We are subsidizing corruption. We are subsidizing the neighboring countries. That is what is wrong with this subsidy. If it was something that was sitting squarely within us, perhaps it could have been more manageable.
Yeah.
But the thing has completely spun out of control and it's blowing up our budget. So that is the problem. Subsidy is not a bad thing at all. I mean, you should subsidize education, for instance. We are subsidizing university education. The rich of the billionaires will not go to all these public universities. We are subsidizing hospitals, general hospitals. The rich people hardly go to general hospitals. So if you subsidize something like public transportation, and on $10 will not come and be going in public bus. But if you are selling cheap fuel, and on $10 you go and buy cheap fuel. That is the difference.
Right.
So we should focus on targeted subsidies that actually relate to the poor. That is why this issue of public transportation is important. This issue of wages is important. And someone has even suggested waiving taxes for a particular category of workers and even SMEs. These are some of the things that can be done.
Right, sir, one of the things people have said is that one of the reasons, because we discussed it last week, that the issue of trust is a major problem. Nigerians feel that the corporates or these cabal that have been taking our subsidized fuel across the country, that many of them have not been arrested or convicted, or nobody has been brought to book. And Nigerians feel that there are still those that are hobnobbing with politicians, and they are the reasons why Nigerians don't trust that even if government saves this money, nothing will be done. And that's on one level. Then Mele Kyari also said that hopefully in the coming months, the price of fuel will reduce, because obviously they're expecting that, I don't know what factors he was using, but many are suggesting that if more licenses are given to Nigerians' private sector to import fuel, it becomes more competitive, and then we have more people who are bringing in fuel, aside from this cabal, this small group of marketers. If more licenses are thrown out there, then the prices of fuel begin to reduce, because people now can be competitive and find ways to bring in the right kind of fuel for Nigerians at a cheaper price. What are your thoughts on these two issues I've raised?
Well, on the issue of trust, we have a new administration. And my appeal is that we should give the administration the benefit of the doubt on this. And just as you said in your intro, all the major political parties promised that they were going to withdraw the subsidy. So it's not peculiar to this current party or this current government. So we should give the administration the benefit of the doubt. We should put whatever the stakeholders will be engaged, so that they put whatever views they have on the table, on the basis of which we can hold the government accountable. These agreements will be signed, and if the government fails to do anything, we can hold them accountable. That is one. Secondly, relating to the issue of a long-term reduction in fuel price. Yes, that is the beauty of a market economy. What has happened over time is that we are dealing with a monopoly situation in this petroleum business. It's only NNPC that has been importing or refining and selling. And once you have a monopoly situation, you are very vulnerable to exploitation. That is the reality. So if you have more people, importing or refining, because ultimately we should be refining. We should not even be talking of importation as an oil-producing country. But in the short term, maybe in the next few months, you may still have to import. But we cannot leave the importation only to NNPC because it's a monopoly and people are just ripping off the citizens. So we should create a framework where all the other players will have access to foreign exchange. Because what they have complained all along is that they don't have access to foreign exchange. So it's only NNPC. And once NNPC imports, it has its own selected distributors or dealers. And these people are taking advantage of the fact that they are the only players. So I agree with the GMD that if you open up the space a lot more people import, more people refine, in addition to the Dangote, we see some competition. Because the best way to protect citizens, the best way to protect consumers against exploitation is competition. Yeah. The more people that you have in the space, the better. We had the experience with the GSM. How much did we start with the SIM card? Over 30,000.
All right, let me pause you for a second. Let me pause you for a second. I have a final question for you.
Yes. Based on the knowledge I have about the way the corruption in the subsidy system, at least the one that we've heard, and your analysis, I'm a bit confused. Because what we've heard about the corruption in the subsidy system is that our fuel is being taken up. There's an inflation of our consumption. Do you think that that's within the NNPC or within the major oil marketers, or who do you believe are the cabal that are taking advantage of the system? Because I don't think it is the importation that the problem comes from. It is in the fact that we don't know the figure of our consumption, and they say we are giving to Benin, Chad, and Niger a subsidized fuel. How do we address that gap?
You see, the challenge is that the whole system is extremely porous. There are leakages across the entire chain, right from importation to marketing to distribution. There are leakages. And some people have said we should be policing. How many will you police? So the only solution is to scrap the thing, quite frankly. There are leakages everywhere. We have the Petroleum Equalization Fund. We are also voting close to ₦1 trillion every year on that. And the whole idea is that fuel should sell at the same price across the country. Then you claim what you call the cost of bridging. And you have somebody take fuel from here to Ibadan, and you come and make claims that they are taking fuel from here to Maiduguri. And because they have so much money, they can bribe anybody. So for me, the solution is to just scrap the thing completely.
Okay. And
let's see how we manage the outcome of the withdrawal.
Thank you very much, Dr. Muda. I have to let you go at this time. Thank you so much for joining us, the Chief Executive Officer, Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We're going to go on a break now. When we come back, we'll bring in our next guest to share more insights on this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We have still talking about subsidy issue and the planned NLC strike. We'll be inviting now our next guest, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. He is the Fiscal Policy Partner and Africa Tax Leader at PwC, that's PricewaterhouseCoopers. He is an author, keynote speaker, strategist, policy analyst, and commentator on finance. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
Yeah, it's always good to have you. So the whole of Nigeria is talking NLC and subsidy removal. Let me start with your general thoughts on this. How do you think it would affect fiscal planning, especially as with the giants of Africa?
Yes, giants of Africa. So we haven't been able to demonstrate that in concrete terms over the past few years. So oil-producing countries are smiling to the bank. We have the likes of Saudi Aramco declaring record profits bigger than Apple, Google, and Facebook combined. So Nigeria should, be talking about tens of billions of dollars now, but sadly, that's not our story. So which means why that decision may not be the most, friendly or the most expected, it is the right decision, in my view. And therefore, I think going on strike and insisting that government should reverse that decision before you can continue discussing, I think is misplaced. I don't think it's the role of the NLC to dictate policies to government. NLC can go on strike because you're asking for, wage increases or palliative, but not insisting that a policy has to be reversed before you continue your conversation.
Interesting.
So overall, I think the impact on the economy, in my view, would be a very short period of pain, followed by a very long-term period of prosperity, and that would really touch the lives of everybody. So we should make the sacrifice now.
Wow.
Okay.
So this short period of pain, in concrete terms, what are we talking about? Because for what I can tell you right now is that we know that it costs a lot. Given our minimum wage, most of us may not be able to, afford to move around next month, So that's what I'm seeing. And so I would like to know this period of pain. Is it a 4-month period? Is it a 2-month period? And what is the exact pain that Nigerians would have to bear to see the years of prosperity?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the most apparent pain will be from transportation costs. That's what people feel immediately. But then you also feel that impact in terms of general inflation, which is rise in the prices of goods and services across different areas. I watched on TV a woman who said that she photocopied a document, one page for 20 naira before, but now it's 50 naira. Now, what you're seeing, and that's just one example, what you're seeing is there's an initial overreaction. So my driver, when I went to Abuja a few days ago, said, he was asking the driver of the bus that he took to the office to say, are you trying to collect the extra amount you pay for fuel from just one passenger when you can carry 14? So that overreaction is what we are dealing with now. I'll tell you that the real impact is a lot less than what we are dealing with in these few days after the announcement. So things will stabilize. And when they do stabilize, I expect there should be a marginal increase in inflation, particularly transportation. So that will particularly affect the price of food in urban areas. The impact of this first subsidy in rural area will be almost negligible. You may not even feel it at all because their touch point with petrol is very, very minimal. The reason why the impact will not be as big as people have feared is because a lot of what really impacts our lives, most directly in terms of production, is diesel. Diesel is what they use for factories. In fact, most of the trucks, if not all of them, the trucks that transport food already run on diesel. And we've been lucky that over the past few weeks, couple of months, the price of diesel has been coming down. Yeah. So if government can even save foreign exchange from this petrol, because everybody agreed, including GMP of NNPC, that we don't know what we are consuming. So whatever we save from this subsidy, right, in foreign currency, if you use that to supply the market for importation of inputs.
It's frozen. We're having a bit of internet.
It's very rare for things to come down in Nigeria. Even if the petrol or the diesel comes down, the tomato and pepper
will go up.
No, not even like people don't, even tomato and pepper comes down. But goods, the things that you buy, clothing, all of those, they don't come down. They just go up and they stay.
Is that based on with the people or based on the market dynamics? Because if it's about dynamics, it should come down. But with the people, always take advantage. You know what? That's gone up. No, we can't go back. I bought it at dollar price. So we also that factor is also
everything
there.
Is dollar price, even tomatoes.
Yes, everybody will tell you it's dollar price. But you see, so normal. So when we project based on the data we have, we will think it will go down, but in the Nigerian factor, it just never goes down.
Is it back?
Are we back, sir? Hello, are you there? Yeah,
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
Okay,
good to
so,
have you back. Go ahead.
sir, you know, this pain that we have been analyzing, I'd like your suggestion on how we can all bear the brunt together as one united force so that in a few months' time, hopefully, we'll be able to ease out of it. Yes, I don't see it in weeks, in a few months' time. In the sense that we know that our government is highly subsidized. Most of our government officials do not use their personal funds to buy this. So because what I see is sometimes when we need to bear the brunt, it's usually transferred to the poor and the masses. They are the ones that pay the price while the government is still able to get some of these things for free. So what would you suggest or what advice would you give that if government really wants the people to trust it and, you know, we need to tighten the belt together, what are some of the things that they would have to cut down so that everybody just goes through the pain and ease out into prosperity sometime? Because I don't know when.
Yeah, very good question. So I do think first, just to work based on data and facts. So it is symbolic and it's important as part of leadership for government to try and show that they are prudent and that they are making sacrifices. But I have to tell you that even if everybody in government today decides not to collect 1 naira from government, we will still be a poor country. So that's not when Nigerians rescue and silver bullets will come from. But I do agree, like I said, it's important for signaling because as a leader, you cannot live at large like everything is normal and then ask your followers to make all the sacrifices. So government needs to do that. And there's a lot of transparency that is required. If you're saving 4 or 5 trillion naira, and we agree, even with the governors, because they'll be sharing from this money, that money has to be dedicated 100%. So those things are making 133 million Nigerians to be in multidimensional poverty. And we have the data from access to education, to basic health care, even clean water they don't have. Can we just focus on that so that the lives of people get better? And we know for those of us, you know, who can afford a little bit more, we know the sacrifices we are making is to help our fellow Nigerians. And then the second part is for individuals to think about a lifestyle change that will help them improve this. When the subsidy on diesel was removed, consumption went down by 50%. Of course, part of that includes smuggling that stopped, right? And I heard someone said, you know, on TV yesterday that this person sells bicycle. They used to sell like 1 a week before. They are selling about 6 a day now. Maybe people have to start thinking about that. Why does my child, you know, school, why is it 40 kilometers from where I live? Why can't I find something nearby? Why do I leave Ikeja to go to church in Ibadan Expressway when there's another one that is next door? So some of these things also require that we think differently. Do I have to put my car on the road every time? Or can we now have investment in public infrastructure that is decent? Public transportation that is decent. You see a CEO in the UK will tell you, I don't have a car, right?
Yeah.
Because the transportation is conducive. Go to Abuja, there's not even public transportation. So I'm not saying government should solve all the problems. Some of it is also private sector. These are investment opportunities that people should start thinking about now. And collectively, we can go through this and come out better.
Thank you very much. I mean, you're just saying, because sometimes I'm unable to articulate the thoughts in my head. But when I hear people like you speak, you just help me to properly put it in proper perspective. Because I've always felt that sometimes it seems like we Nigerians, we live beyond our means. Okay, so all your friends have cars. You want to get a car. Why? When your office actually, my house, I live exactly 9 minutes away.
Walk?
Really, I have no business having a car. That's the truth. Really, if I want to be truthful and realistic to myself, driving my car to work, I should have a bicycle. Really and truthfully, if I was in a sane economy, in a sane country, I as a citizen wouldn't even consider. But listen, you'll be surprised. Eventually, if we get to that point, I will get something smaller to get me to work. Only maybe I'll now drive my car once a week or something. Maybe I need to go to church. Then we readjust. The other countries, they are working. But here we all want to enter cab from point A to point B, just 2 minutes away.
So there's the one I noticed yesterday that many people, we live in an estate. Many people that attend church live within the same estate and they still drive the car from their house to the church. Number one, some will even use driver to drive them from their house to the church within the same estate. So yes, I love the idea of being practical. we need to do carpooling. We need to plan our pickup from school. We don't need, if there are 3 children living with 3 families in the same estate, you must design a way to, one family picks up the child on Monday, another person on Tuesday, so that we're not driving all the time, planning a way to cut our expenses. Thank you so much.
Okay, sir, there was a question I wanted to ask you. I hope I've not lost that question. Anybody has any questions?
Yes, please, let me come in with a question. So, there's something you said that struck me. I know that as a country, we can always say that we don't have, Nigeria is not a rich country, Nigeria is not a rich country, but when you said that if all government officials don't take money from government, that the country will still be poor. That one I don't understand.
Please let me explain to how. Please let me even help him, sir. You know why that is a very important question Tokwe just asked, because every Nigerian, like the 99.99% of Nigerians believe that all our money is in the hands of these 0.00% politicians. So because they feel that way, it's important for you to answer that question very well.
No, so let me put it
carefully.
Let me put a bit of context, sir, because we see politicians that were living in rented apartments before they became local government chairmen. And the moment they become, they buy a mansions, they buy a house, their children change schools, they start
school abroad.
So their life changes. So I cannot understand how not giving them money will not change our circumstance as Nigerians.
Let me give you the next 20 minutes to say this. Go ahead, take your time.
Yes, so thank you. I like the way you put it. So there are 2 issues, and I'd like to separate them. One, there's corruption, where you can inflate contracts. You award it for 1 billion, but you only spend 50 million. You keep 950 million to yourself. That's why somebody can buy a house. They're not buying the house from the money they're being paid legitimately, right? So there are 2 issues. The money they are being paid legitimately, that money, I'm saying, they stop collecting it today, and they don't collect 1 naira. The difference will be negligible. The whole of the National Assembly's budget is around 150 billion naira. It's not going to solve Nigeria's problem when you have a deficit at the federal government alone of 11 trillion. I've not even added states and local governments. So, but the one we need to focus on is the corruption, which is why we are the country, and more than half of it is going to private pockets. They have all manners of way of doing it. It's not an SPV, it's one entity somewhere. In fact, they award contract that they had no intention of executing just to make money for themselves. That is the one that is killing us. And that's the one we need to focus on. And that has nothing to do with first subsidy, right? It's a separate conversation, and I think it will be with us for some time because, to be honest, we blame politicians, and I'm not saying we shouldn't blame them for being corrupt, but majority of ordinary people are just as corrupt. Just removing first subsidy alone, people start selling at 650 the next minute. Even though the inventory they had, they bought at 160 something.
Need the people.
So that's the way I'll respond to that.
Thank you, Ajaero Ogami. Thank you, but you see, it's important that it's important for us to get. Their salary is not the problem.
We know.
No, we don't know. We always go 30 million naira a month. 30, we come up with these numbers, and people say it about beer parlors with such confidence.
We know.
But I'm saying, it's not their salaries. It's the contract they have access to. That's where the corruption is that will fight, not the fact that they are not this amount of money.
And the pensions that they will be getting afterwards. So we know everything boils down together. So we look at what MD CEOs earn in different
private sector.
It's
times 100.
We cannot compare that because you chose to serve. There's a difference. You would have just become your private person, be your MD, do your own business. That's a different thing. When you choose to serve, you must serve in humility. You must be moderate about it. Absolutely. That's what we're saying, because we're not a rich country. So you cannot be living like an MD CEO in a private company using government money. It's not possible.
Let me just throw in one question. If you're still there. Sir, we have the asset declaration form. And we have this Code of Conduct Bureau. And I know that when it comes to accounting, you guys know how to follow the numbers. What can we do in following the numbers better to ensure that how can the government best reduce these leakages?
Yeah, so this asset declaration is something I've been talking about since 1999, actually. Because if you read the Constitution clearly, the asset declaration itself is defective in the way it has been signed. For example, it does not speak to the fact that I can have my house girl or my house boy hold 20 billion I've stolen from government on my behalf. It doesn't even speak to whether I have, contingent liabilities. I can make a commitment with the intention of stealing later, right? So it has a lot of loopholes as it is. But even if you ignore that moment, even with the loopholes, the little information we are getting from it, we're not using it. And I'll give you a very simple one that is almost, you can't dispute. It's tax compliance. So if you declare today that you are worth 10 million naira, the first thing that you do, which every country will do, is go check their tax record. Did you display this before over the years? How did you accumulate 10 million naira? How much taxes have you paid? Because sometimes it's not about the amount of money you make from these politicians. It's the sense of leadership. Is that tone from the top? Is that moral authority? In addition to the legal power to lead, you control, forces, you can harass people, you can pick them up. You also need to earn that moral authority to lead. That's why if you look at Donald Trump, Google, the US president, they not only do the right thing in terms of declaring their assets, paying taxes, they even publish it. Right? Nobody says there's no law that says publish, but they're saying, well, I'm the most powerful and I'm doing the right thing. Now, let's see the person that has 3 heads not to do the right thing. The Prime Minister of UK was fined for driving without seatbelts at the back. So this is how societies evolve and develop. Trying to do things and respect process. That is what is missing in Nigeria. They will declare this asset now and nothing will happen. We'll keep it 4 years, we'll declare again. We like keeping records, not really processing them for meaningful things for the
Very, very interesting. So all this big manism you do, if you're not paying your taxes, really, you're nobody. I mean, many of them half of them are, many of these people, you can argue that they're not evaluating that. They just provide it and we don't usually get the data. We have numbers, but we don't assess it to be able to have a conclusion to know how to treat these people.
Because we need those loopholes to be able to carry out corruption. Check it too much.
We have to wrap up, sir. Any final words? I didn't ask you about your thoughts on NLC. So we know you've given us all the various angles as regards why this is important for us to actually remove subsidy. But this strike that they are going, this one that electricity workers have said they are going to join in. I don't want so in your view, just let me hear your thoughts on this strike action. How do you think the government can meet them halfway?
Yes. So I think first I'll say that people need to move away from politicking. We are done with the elections. I know there are cases in court and courts will do their job. For every day that you wish your country evil in Nigeria, that's equivalent of 10,000 people's life. Their entire life is what you are wasting. So, for example, I don't see why electricity workers want to join the strike and then they want to shut down the grid. What's the connection between that? Why are you shutting down the grid?
She just tell us that they were shutting down the grid.
Yeah, so that's like sabotage. Why is NLC insisting that you have to revert back before they can negotiate? The powers they have is for them to negotiate for their members. And they should feel free to do that. And then we should not end up, at the end of the day, removing one subsidy and negotiating by all means subsidies in other areas that will even be more expensive and get out of hands in the next few years. Nigeria cannot afford that. If this country goes down, like we've seen in Sri Lanka, sometimes in Zambia, or what Ghana is dealing with, it will not be able to, no other country will be able to contain us. And this is the time to make the sacrifice and do the right thing for the interest of not only this generation, but our unborn generation that will come after us.
Well, thank you very much. We have to wrap up. I know the Vice President told us very clearly that the cabal is very strong, that they're going to fight this. So we're expecting a lot of more. I mean, I'm even happy that it's not as bad as I thought, but hopefully there's some negotiations could be made today, and NLC and TUC and others may be able to shelve their strikes so that we can reach an agreement, because we've all largely agreed that it's time for subsidy to go. However, government must raise the responsibilities to ensure that Nigerians, they alleviate the pain or the shock of this change on Nigerians so we don't even go further into poverty. Thank you so much, Mr. Udele, for joining us this morning.
Thank you, sir.
We really appreciate your insights and thoughts this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
That is all we can take on today's show. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.